They want you to blend in. They need you to smile when they smile, laugh when they laugh, bow when they bow. They've built an entire architecture of normality around you, brick by brick, rule by rule, and they expect you to live inside it like it's the only structure that exists. But you feel it, don't you? That suffocation. That screaming in your chest every time you force yourself to mirror their hollow expressions. Every time you pretend their conversations matter. Every time you nod along to their small talk about weather and weekend plans while your mind is somewhere else entirely, somewhere they could never reach, somewhere they're terrified to even acknowledge exists. You were never meant to fit in. That's not pessimism. That's not bitterness. That's recognition. That's the cold, hard truth that lands in your gut at 3 a.m. when you're alone with your thoughts and there's no more performance to maintain. You are fundamentally different. Not special in the way they celebrate special. Not different in the way they tolerate different. You are different in a way that threatens the very foundation of their reality. Your presence, your authentic presence, is an act of violence against their carefully constructed world. And they know it. They've always known it. That's why they tried so hard to reshape you, to sand down your edges, to teach you to apologize for taking up space, to convince you that your intensity was a flaw, that your depth was depression, that your refusal to participate in their shallow rituals was a disorder that needed correction. They labeled you. They diagnosed you. They medicated you. They isolated you, not because something was wrong with you, but because everything about you was right in a way that exposed everything wrong with them. You see, their entire system depends on conformity. It requires an unspoken agreement that everyone will pretend together. Pretend that the script makes sense. Pretend that the rat race has meaning. Pretend that their values are universal, that their goals are noble, that their judgments matter. They need everyone to believe that the game is real, that the points mean something, that the hierarchy they've created is based on truth rather than collective delusion. And then you showed up. You, who couldn't pretend even when you tried. You, who asked questions that weren't supposed to be asked. You, who looked at their emperor and saw no clothes. They punished you for that. Of course they did. The herd always attacks what it doesn't understand. They ostracized you. They gossiped about you. They made you feel like your inability to fit into their box was a personal failure, a character defect, proof that you were broken. And maybe, for a while, you believed them. Maybe you tried harder. Maybe you twisted yourself into shapes that weren't yours, wore masks that suffocated you, spoke in a voice that wasn't your own. Maybe you almost disappeared trying to become acceptable to people who were never going to accept you, because acceptance would mean acknowledging that their reality isn't the only reality and they can't afford that acknowledgement. But something happened, didn't it? Something snapped, or maybe something crystallized. You went through fire, through betrayal, through isolation so complete that you had nothing left but yourself. And in that darkness, in that absolute solitude, you discovered something they never wanted you to find. You discovered that you don't need them. You don't need their approval. You don't need their validation. You don't need their reality. You discovered that the prison they built around you only has power if you believe in its walls. And the moment you stop believing, the moment you see through the illusion, those walls become transparent. They're still there. The game is still being played. But you're no longer bound by it. That's when you became dangerous. Not when you were angry. Not when you were loud. But when you became calm. When you stopped arguing with them, stopped trying to convince them, stopped caring whether they understood. When you withdrew your energy from their system and started building your own. That's when you became a threat. Because you stopped feeding the machine. Every person who opts out, every person who says no to the script, every person who refuses to participate in the grand delusion weakens the entire structure. They know this. That's why they can't leave you alone. That's why they prod you, provoke you, try to pull you back in with shame, with guilt, with promises that if you just try one more time, if you just adjust a little bit more, you'll finally belong. But you won't, and that's not tragic. That's liberation. You were born to destroy their reality, not because you're malicious, not because you want chaos for its own sake, but because your mere existence, your authentic existence, is incompatible with their lies. You don't have to do anything aggressive. You don't have to crusade or preach or convince. You just have to be. You just have to live according to your own frequency, operate by your own code, build according to your own vision. And that simple act of sovereign existence detonates their entire worldview. They see you now and they're confused. You're not playing anymore. You're not competing for their prizes. You're not seeking their recognition. You're not even angry at them anymore. And that absence of anger is more unsettling to them than rage ever was. Rage they understand. Rage they can dismiss, label, contain. But indifference, autonomy, a man who has walked through hell and come out the other side not broken but forged, that they can't process, because you're supposed to need them. The whole system is built on mutual need, mutual validation, mutual participation in the agreed-upon fiction. When you stop needing, when you stop caring, when you operate from a place of complete internal authority, you become a ghost in their machine. You're there, but not there. Present, but unreachable. Visible, but impossible to categorize or control. And the ones who are closest to waking up, the ones who feel their own cages but haven't admitted it yet, they see you and something in them resonates. Something in them recognizes that you've done what they're afraid to do. You've faced the abyss. You've sat with the darkness. You've dismantled the person they needed you to be and rebuilt yourself from the ground up, according to no manual but your own. That terrifies and attracts them in equal measure. They're drawn to your energy but repelled by what you represent. Because to fully embrace you, to fully understand you, they would have to admit that they've been living a lie. And that admission requires a kind of death. The death of who they thought they were. The death of the comfortable story they've been telling themselves. Most won't do it. Most will stay inside the cage. Most will look at you with suspicion, with judgment, with dismissal, because it's easier to believe you're lost than to consider that they are. But a few, a rare few, will see you and something will click. They'll see that the intensity you carry isn't insanity, it's clarity. The coldness they perceive isn't cruelty, it's efficiency. You've simply stopped wasting energy on things that don't matter. You've stopped pretending that everyone's opinion is valid, that everyone's feelings are your responsibility. That politeness is more important than truth. You've learned something ancient, something that civilization tries desperately to bred out of us. You've learned that the world is not a safe place, that people will betray you, that institutions will fail you, that the promises made to you were always conditional, that fairness is a myth, that justice is selective, that the only person you can truly rely on is yourself. And rather than letting that knowledge destroy you, rather than collapsing into victimhood or cynicism, you alchemized it. You took that poison and you transformed it into power. You took the pain of your isolation and used it to build an unshakable foundation. You took the betrayal and let it teach you discernment. You took the silence and made it your weapon. That's what they don't understand. They think silence is absence. They think your withdrawal is weakness. They interpret your refusal to engage as inability. But you know better. You know that the loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. You know that the one who needs to convince others is the one who doubts themselves. You know that true strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't justify itself. It doesn't ask for permission. It simply is. And you've become that. You've become undeniable not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you've stopped trying. You've stopped performing. You've stopped contorting. You've stopped seeking approval from a world that was never designed to approve of you. And now that you've stopped caring about their game, something interesting happens. Now that you've built your own world, your own rules, your own meaning, their reality starts to look small, petty, fragile. You see them chasing validation on social media, desperate for likes and comments from strangers. You see them trading their time for money they don't need to buy things that don't matter to impress people they don't like. You see them in relationships built on convenience and fear rather than genuine connection. You see them celebrating achievements that were handed to them by a system designed to keep them compliant. And you feel nothing. Not superiority, not pity, not anger. Just nothing. Because they're playing a game you've transcended. That nothingness, that void where their hooks used to catch, that's your freedom. That's your power. Because you can't be manipulated by someone whose currency you don't value. You can't be controlled by threats that don't frighten you. You can't be shamed by people whose opinions you don't respect. You've exited their matrix. You've unplugged. And once you've seen the code, Once you've understood how the program works, you can never unsee it. You can never go back to innocent participation. You're awake now, permanently, uncomfortably, irreversibly. This is what it means to be born to destroy their reality. You don't attack it directly. You don't need to. You simply exist in opposition to it. Your life, your choices, your refusal to bow becomes a mirror they can't look away from. Every time they see you unbothered by the things that terrorize them, every time they witness you thriving outside their approved paths, every time you demonstrate that happiness and success don't require their validation, a crack forms in their belief system. And those cracks spread. Because if you can do it, if you can opt out and not only survive but flourish, then what does that say about everyone who didn't? What does that say about all the compromises they made, all the dreams they buried, all the years they spent building someone else's vision? They need you to fail. They need you to come crawling back, broken and apologetic, ready to admit that you were wrong, that their way was right all along. That would repair the crack. That would restore their certainty. But you won't give them that satisfaction, because you know something they refuse to learn. You know that the path less traveled isn't less traveled because it's harder. It's less traveled because it requires something most people don't have. It requires the willingness to be misunderstood, the courage to be alone, the strength to trust yourself when everything and everyone is telling you you're wrong. You've paid that price. You've walked through the valley where no one could follow. You've sat with your demons and made peace with your darkness. You've looked at your scars and stopped seeing them as evidence of weakness and started seeing them as proof of survival. You've become intimate with pain, with loss, with disappointment, and instead of letting it embitter you, you let it educate you. You let it forge you into something unbreakable. Not hard in the brittle sense, but hard in the diamond sense. Pressure and time and heat transforming carbon into something that cuts through everything else. That's what you are now. Forged, refined, stripped of everything unnecessary until only the essential remains. And the essential you, the core you, the you that survived when everything else was burned away, that version is incompatible with their reality. It doesn't fit their boxes. It doesn't speak their language. It doesn't want their prizes. It operates on a frequency they can't hear, sees colors they can't perceive, moves according to rhythms they don't recognize. You're not trying to be difficult. You're not trying to be different. You just are. And that effortless authenticity, that unforced individuality, that's what makes you dangerous. Because once people see that it's possible, once they see someone living proof that you can reject the script and not only survive but thrive, the spell breaks. Not for everyone, not even for most, but for enough, for the ones who were already questioning, for the ones who were already suffocating, for the ones who were waiting for permission, for validation, for proof that they weren't crazy for feeling like something was fundamentally wrong with the life they were supposed to want. You are that proof. You are that permission. You are that validation. And you don't even have to try. You don't have to preach or convince or recruit. You just have to continue being you. Continue living by your code. Continue building your vision. Continue refusing to participate in their theatrical production of normality. Your existence alone is revolutionary. Your peace is rebellion. Your independence is anarchy. Not the destructive kind, but the constructive kind. The kind that says you don't need their system because you've built your own. The kind that demonstrates sovereignty is possible, that self-sufficiency is attainable, that meaning can be self-generated rather than externally assigned. This is your inheritance. This is what the fire gave you. This is what the betrayal taught you. This is what the isolation forged. You were broken down to nothing so you could be rebuilt into everything. You were rejected by their world so you could create your own. You were cast out so you could discover that the wilderness beyond their walls isn't something to fear. It's where you belong. It's where you're strongest. It's where you're free. And now, standing on the other side of that transformation, you realize something profound. You weren't trying to fit in. You were born to destroy their reality, not with violence, not with rage, but with something far more powerful, with your absolute, unapologetic, undeniable authenticity. And that is a force they have no defense against.